today is Sunday the 17th of May, and I seldom take a day off because I love my work, and although it's a Sunday, it's a very busy day and I continue to do projects. Somehow customers get the impression that I can do virtually anything to their bonsai, and they bring all these problem trees to me in the hope that it will solve the problem. Now this gentleman has had this tree, I believe, for the last 30 years. It is a Hinoki cypress. I don't think it's the Nana gracilis, but it's definitely a Hinoki, and it's grown in this weird style. I will just bring the camera close and show you a close-up of the tree and give you a little critique. I will also, before I do that, take it out of its pot to show you what he wants done. So there's the tree without its plastic pot, and I'm now going to switch the camera. Now let me give you a critique of these trees, or this tree. This particular tree, he says he's been growing for the last 30 years, and he hasn't repotted it for about 5 or more years. But I must say the tree is in very good health. Look at it, there is not a single yellow bit of foliage on this tree. It is very, very healthy. He's done a little bit of wiring, not the best of wiring, because wiring is a skilled art. But like many of these Chamaecyparis obtusa or Hinoki cypress that are produced in Europe, they are fond of grafting it on Leylandii stock, the root stock. So it's got that ugly, almost like a potato shape. It's huge. Look at it compared to my hand. It's absolutely huge trunk there. That is the root stock, probably Leylandii, and it's been grafted onto it. So it looks really weird like this, but we can make something of it. Since he's grown it for the last 30 years, he's obviously got a lot of sentimental attachment to the tree, and he's used this as the viewing side, either this side or the other side like this, and it really is just a bush. If one wanted to, for my money, I would prefer to make this the front of the tree, because I can see much more branching if I did it this way. So I might well change the front. But since we are in mid-May, the 17th of May, to do a repot, that means drastically take the roots off, would be very dangerous considering it's almost into summer. Being drastic with the roots, this should have been done back in early February. That's when I would have done this tree. But since he wants it repotted, I will put it in a larger pot for now, and I will rewire the tree and just gently ease the roots so that the tree becomes more comfortable in its new environment. So I will do that. So I will use this as the front and do some wiring to slightly change the appearance of the tree. You will agree that if I use this as the front, even if I bent this branch down, it's not so easy, although it is possible. I can see why he has used this, either this or that, the other side as the front, because it's got a nice curve. But if I changed it to the other side, I may have to use a very large pot. But that was my preferred solution, but I won't go for that. I will go with the flow and go with what he's already used and continue to use this as the front. So let's do a bit of wiring to change the shape and a light prune to the tree. So I will begin. I will begin by taking some of the wires off, and I'm one of those very frugal people who don't like to throw wire away. I will unwire the tree, although I may not use his wire because not all the grades are right. I will rewire it completely, but I will just save the wire for him. I have a lot of customers who bring trees to me for reshaping and restyling because they obviously hope to get a very good result, and I like doing it because it's always a challenge for me. Now look at what he's done. I don't know why he's tied this down with a guy wire. That's doing nothing. So some people have very unusual ideas as to how they wire. The wiring is not the best. As I say, wiring requires a lot of practice to be good. So this is quite common among many people who dabble in bonsai. That means they don't take it to the really serious high levels, but it gets by. I always maintain that as long as the person enjoys what they're doing, that is all that matters. So I keep a very open mind about it because after all, the hobby of bonsai is about enjoyment. And I've always believed that there is no such thing as right or wrong. There's always room to improve. Because if you improve and make a thing look nice, you will enjoy it much more. But to say that a person has done it wrong, I think is a bit insulting for the customer. So, if you de-wire a tree that has been wired well, you learn quite a lot from it. And of course, by the same token, if you de-wire a tree that hasn't been done so well, you also get to see how it should not be done. So there's always two sides to the coin, same coin. Now this wire is doing nothing because it's not the right thickness and it's absolutely doing nothing. This tree has been wired before because I can see the wire marks from previous wiring. This wire he's used, I think, is like 2.5 mil wire. I think to bend any of these branches or trunks, you need at least 4 mil. So that's all the wires taken off. I don't know why he's left that little dead twig there doing nothing. I will take off. Now, as I said, I'm going to continue using this side as the front. So I think if we open the tree out, just by opening the tree out, have a look, it makes the triangle shape more pronounced. And by opening it out like this, getting more of a triangular shape, the tree will suddenly begin to look better. So let me wire this bottom branch first. We always work from the bottom upwards. So I'm going for 4mm wire, and this should do it. All the way there. The famous 2-branch principle. beginning to have my doubts. No, that wire won't be man enough. So I will use even thicker. I'm going for slightly thicker wire. The thicker wire you use, it gets so heavy. The cost of wire is quite a significant part of the restyling process. Have you ever wondered whether you do it clockwise or anti-clockwise? Some people have a preferred way to wire. Now on that branch I did it clockwise. Now I'm doing this side anti-clockwise. So in my opinion it doesn't really matter as long as it does the job. That's all that matters. Yeah, I have been asked on occasion by people, do you wire anti-clockwise or clockwise? Doesn't matter a bit. Okay, now this wire should hold. Do a little zigzag to shorten the branch. These are old trees, so you've got to be a bit careful in case you snap the branch. This is the risk, you know, when you work on customers' trees. If you snap the branch, customer won't be very happy. Now while I've got it in that position, I'm just taking a good look. It's got quite a nice bend to it, so this is not any recognized style, but it certainly looks nice however he's wired it. Now let me just wire these two and give more shape to that top. So again, sticking with this thicker wire, I will go from there to there. Some people ask me, how much does it cost to restyle or rewire a tree? I don't have any fixed price. I charge what the customer is prepared to pay. If a customer is a dear old pensioner living on a fixed income and not having a lot of money but just enjoying the thing, I will just charge them the cost of the pot and a little bit of my time. My time is valuable. When I go out doing landscaping consultancies, it is a lot of money, but sometimes the trees that I look after, some clients pay me a great deal, but as I say, I always have consideration for the personal circumstances of the client. So I know that this person has asked to be economical, and I will try and be very economical in how I charge him. When you wire, if you can use the same colored wire, that also helps. Otherwise it will look distinctly odd if you start changing the color of the wire. And now I'm going to switch to a slightly thinner wire because the wire I've just used is quite thick. Now let me go to a thinner one. I would guess that this customer has wired this tree into this existing shape and not try to create any particular form of style, but it's a very informal, unusual style. I wouldn't fault it. I usually try to keep a very open mind, and as I say, as long as the tree looks natural, it should be okay. So the general principles again is to create a triangular shape. As long as the shape is triangular, then it will work. So I've done very little to it. I've only put 3 pieces of wire so far. I'm going to put the 4th piece of wire and see what happens. As they say, usually most solutions to problems are quite simple. That's if you can find what the problem is. I haven't taken any branch off. All I'll do is probably prune the ends of the Hinoki, because Hinoki is quite a difficult tree to understand when it comes to pruning. People just don't know how to prune it. I will show you, when I've done all the wiring, how to prune these trees. Just going to do the minimum of wiring, because many of the, see, like that curve has been achieved from wiring in the past, and it has been quite effective, so no need to change that too much. I'll just change it very slightly. This customer is obviously cautious about pruning. Many people are afraid to prune, and they leave the trees to grow on and on, with the result that they become very straggly. This has become a bit straggly, but we can still correct it. Hinoki cypress, by the way, is a very difficult species to make into bonsai, and certainly in the commercial bonsai seen, you don't often come across Hinoki cypress sold commercially as bonsai. Very, very rarely. Even in Japan, I used to travel so much in Japan to buy imported specimens of bonsai. And Hinoki is certainly a species that is rarely seen as bonsai. I think that is as much as I will do to the tree, because I think it is quite nice as it is. All I will now do is prune it very lightly. Now I will change the camera angle and show you close up. I'm now going to hold the camera in one hand and prune with the other hand. Okay, let's look at this pad. You can see that this pad is quite long, and this is what you do. You go into the wood and cut into the stem. Never just shear across. Don't do this. Don't just do that. You need to go into the wood like that and find the stem or the woody bit and then prune that off, like this one here. Go into there and prune it like that. So that's how you would prune all these. So all the ends should be pruned off. If you don't prune the ends, they get extended, they get longer and longer, and you will soon lose control of the tree. And as with all plants, the more you prune, the bushier it gets. So that's all I've done. So in the space of a few minutes, I've tried to change the tree a little bit. I'll just prune it because I can't hold the camera and prune with the other hand. Let me just put the camera down. I'm continuing to prune. Always be careful not to prune so much that you scalp the tree. So this is a nice light and airy tree. I like it. It's got very nice informal appearance. So despite the ugly graft there, it is in fact quite a nice tree. Now, as I said, because it's in the middle of, not middle of summer, it's early summer, I don't want to deal too drastically with the roots. I may just loosen the roots a little bit. Again, I will show you close at hand. Now I'll show you how tight the root is. Absolutely congested. So what I will do is also just loosen it a little bit like this. And then I will put some sphagnum moss around the roots, and that should help. But I will advise this customer to bring the tree back to me again in February for a more drastic root prune. So this is what I'm doing to the tree. Nothing too drastic, and I'm going to put it in a slightly larger pot to make it more comfortable for the tree. So I won't show you all the process because it's just doing this. This is fine, you'll get away with this. This won't damage the tree in any way. And since this is Leylandii rootstock, it should be okay. just going to take a few of the roots off. As I say, I don't want to be too drastic. You may ask me, how do you know how much root to take off? Well, I do it by instinct. I know that a tree like this, which is quite healthy, and I know that this species is a very tough species, and this being a Leylandii rootstock, this is a very tough tree. I can take off some of the roots. These are only the peripheral roots. I'm not doing a very drastic repot. I'm certainly not doing a drastic repot. So I haven't even touched any of these. I'm just going to loosen these roots. See, upon layer and layer of roots, this customer has clearly just put the tree in successively large pots, and it has grown in that fashion from one pot to the next, never really dealing with the roots. It's quite a common practice, which is not really good for the tree in the long run. Not that the tree will die, but the tree could be more healthy than this. So as you can see, although I've taken out that much root, there's still a lot of root left in there. There's still a lot of root left in there. So I haven't been drastic at all. And the size of the pot I'm moving from, this was the original plastic pot, and this is the new mica pot. So it's only slightly larger. See, it fits in there. So it's only slightly larger. So I haven't gone over the top. So all I will do is put it in this. I'll put a piece of wire and I'll show you what exactly I'm going to do. I will of course tie the tree in. It's always a good practice to tie your trees in. Commercial trees that are sold on the mass market for indoors, they're not often tied, and in fact I always tell people that back in the 1970s we never used to tie our trees in. We just put them into the pot, and as long as the roots establish, that's fine. Now let me put some bits of mesh. And as I say, I can be a bit lazy. I can put a long strip of mesh rather than 3 separate bits of mesh, and that will also do. There is no single right or wrong way. As long as it works for you, that's all right. Because a lot of these people slavishly copy what others do. So that's what I've done. One single piece of mesh right across the bottom. Now the next thing I'm going to do, because it's getting a bit late for repotting, I'm going to line the pot with some sphagnum moss. So here you are. I brought some sphagnum moss. This is it, sphagnum moss, because I know that this will give the tree more chance to grow, because it will just facilitate the roots to regenerate. So I'll put the sphagnum moss in there. I know it's going to stand a bit proud, but it will compress after you've watered the tree. It may stand a bit proud for now, but I'm not worried about that. Take it via the back so that you don't see it from the front. And then that will stop the tree falling out. We'll just put a little more moss from the sides, so that the moss is touching the roots. A lot of these little tricks and practices that I employ are based on experiments. I always love to experiment with different tricks and techniques, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And of course the tricks that work, I will repeat it and recommend that other people do the same. Now I put that in. Now the rest of it is putting some more soil in. So I'm just topping the perimeter or the edges of the pot with a very fine light bark peat substitute type compost, not the heavy gritty stuff, because this will generate roots more easily. So the emphasis is, again, is that this is really a temporary repot. Real repotting should be done next February. So this is the tree done. I will just water it in, and there you are. I hope the customer likes what he sees, and I think it's a very nice tree. Let me change the camera angle. So I've kept the same front, created a conical shape. I could bend it a little more. But the shape is fine. So there you are. This is how we dealt with this tree. Some people like that bulge. I personally don't like it, but some people like it. It makes it an interesting feature. And in fact, this tree is nice from what I would regard as the backside. So this backside of the tree is quite nice, although the tree leans the other way. So all in all, this has turned out very nice, pleasing. I hope I didn't have to do anything drastic. I was going to change the front, but I decided not to. And the customer is coming tomorrow to collect it. I would have kept it personally for a month here, but since he's eager to get it back, and I think he's got the experience to look after it, so he will have the tree back and hopefully a satisfied customer. And those are the roots that came off. And the only pruning I've done is that much. Look, hardly any came off the foliage. Very little trimming. So sometimes you can change the look of a tree without doing much by way of pruning. Thank you.